with a small audience. Do you have a small audience and you have heard that you have to have a big audience? You've got to have hundreds of thousands of followers and likes or comments, or you've got to have millions of followers in order to get paid online as an author, a speaker, or a coach. This is completely not true. There's common myths and misunderstandings about what it actually means about running an online business where you get paid. And the first thing that people get confused is about these views and likes and comments and subscribers. A lot of this stuff is simply just, they're a myth. They're vanity metrics. And what I mean by vanity metric is if you're a content creator who loves your message and knows that you have a message that can transform lives, but you want to be able to get paid so that you can make the money and support your message, then this video is for you. But if you are looking just to get popular, just to get views and likes, and and you think that if I can only just break through and get more views, that will automatically translate to money, then you will be sorely disappointed. There are tons of influencers who are broke. They have lots of attention, but they don't know how to convert that attention into dollars. They don't know how to turn that information they give into income that they receive, or their reputation into revenue. But today I'm going to be sharing with you some ways that you can start getting paid today with even a small audience. And part of this was, for instance, I have a friend, Mita Danny. She teaches realistic watercolor painting to artists, and she has a small audience of around 5,000 people, and she has made over $500,000 in her business using the audience that she has. And you don't have to have hundreds of thousands, and some even do it with less than that. But if you want to learn these, then stay tuned. There is a influencer summit that Brendon Burchard hosts that I attend every year since 2018, and I love it. Each of the speakers there are making 7 figures a year, and they're teaching on different strategies on how you can join this creator economy, or how you can thrive in this influencer economy, however you want to call it, in creating content online. And there was this one speaker, her name was Natalie Ellis in Boss Babes, and she said something that really got me thinking, and I started pondering. She was talking about how there are 3 types of currencies. 3 of them. And when you understand this, it's going to change your life. Number 1 is money. Money is the first currency. And the second is time, which time, I would submit to you, is infinitely more valuable than money, because money comes and goes, but time squandered never can be gathered again. So, and the third one is what she called audience. And she was showing how with an audience, you're able to exchange your audience with for other people's times, other people's monies, or products or services. And in proportion to your audience is your opportunities. And I was really thinking about this. I'm like, that is so true. It got me thinking about my past, my history. See, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 10 years old. And I've been a professional speaker for about 10 years now. And I was looking back in these last 10 years of different ways that I've gotten paid because I had an audience. And so that's what inspired me to want to share with you, what could you do to start getting paid? And she mentioned how your audience, even when it's small, is a lot like money, or it's a currency, where just like you have dollars, when you have a few dollars, you have a few opportunities. If you got level 3 finances, you get level 3 opportunities. Likewise, if you have a level 3 audience, then you'll get level 3 opportunities in business. And people will like, what this looks like is, instead of you coming, when there's people who are authors, coaches, who are busy, who are successful, who have messages like books and programs that are selling tremendously, and there's so much demand on their time, or they have large audiences, then you don't have to go to them like begging or trying to get their attention or paying like large sums to get their time or their coaching, you're able to, if you have an audience, you can actually get on their radar, you can get them on your show, and they would be happy to spill all of their expertise to you and your audience because you have what they're looking for, which is an audience. And when you have an audience, it's amazing. One of the speakers at this influencer summit, she's a travel blogger, and she was mentioning how she just got excited with the fact that people would pay her to go to hotels, and a lot of times like she would just do reviews on that destination, that travel location, or that resort, and she would get these paid, being able to get paid to travel and attend in these hotels. And simply because she had an audience that company wanted. And it made me think, I'm like, wow, I'm not a travel blogger, but I have been a speaker. And as a speaker, I've been paid to attend a lot of these hotels as well because of the audience that I have and how I'm able to, and the message that I have to be able to share with people. And I remember the first time that this was clicking in my mind, I was 18 years old, and the very first plane ticket or plane that I've ever ridden was paid for, and I had an all expense paid trip to go from Oregon over where I grew up, this small town in Oregon, and over to Orlando, Florida. And the first time I've ever been on a plane, first time that I recall staying at a hotel, and I was able to go there because they saw I had a message and they wanted me to share my message in Orlando and at this convention. And it was cool because where most people, they pay to stay in hotels, I've been able to get paid to stay at hotels. And most people pay to travel and see the world, where I've been able to get paid to travel and see the world. And it's just a different world that you live in when you're an author, a speaker, or a coach. And that's the world I want to share with you. And this is the world that the way that Natalie was explaining this, I'm like, I totally get that. I've never heard someone say it in that manner, but I was thinking through, I'm like, that is so true. And as she was talking, I love the analogy between the finances and the audience, because finances we get. It's like, yeah, we've all had some money when we were younger, and we've had times where we've had more money or less money. I'm like, yeah, it's a currency. That's how you exchange for opportunities. But the same thing with an audience. When you have an audience, people will come to you. You'll be able to get people's times that you otherwise wouldn't. It's like when I was, like that analogy of like finances as they go up and down, you'll have different opportunities. The same thing with an audience. Like when I was 10 years old, I mentioned I was an entrepreneur since I was 10. Before I was a teenager, I was making hundreds of dollars. But right about middle school, when I was becoming a teenager, I've made thousands of dollars. And then as in my teenage years, I was making tens of thousands of dollars. And those were giving more opportunities to travel and to speak and to share. And that's when, in my late teens, I began really taking seriously my speaking and pursuing that. In fact, I dropped out of high school so I could pursue my career in speaking, because I absolutely love being able to share a message that could impact people's lives. And then in my early 20s, I was blessed with a family business that grew to over $100,000 a year. So it was just like with the increments of finances came new opportunities, came resources. Then I was able to hire a team, hire helpers, or be able to pay for coaches and mentors, attend events, and to learn the skills quickly that I wanted to learn. And I realized that, yeah, I've done service. I've served people without money, and I've served people with money, and I'm telling you, it's a lot easier to serve people with money. And you don't have to have a large audience in order to do that. So it's like, my favorite verse in all the Bible is Luke 16:10, and it says that he that is faithful in that which is least will be faithful also in much. He that is unjust in that which is least will be unjust also in much. And when you really look at what this is, if like I've built my entire life, my career, my just like every day this verse comes to my mind, and I'm just like, how can I be faithful with the little that I have? And whether it's a small audience or a small number of students, or whether it's just opportunities, it's I always look at small compared to what, because my vision is huge. I've got a big vision and it inspires me day to day to persevere. But it's incredible as I've been thinking through, is just like, even just with what could be seen as small, have really afforded a lifestyle opportunities and people I've met that I wouldn't have experienced if I went the traditional route and I followed the path that a lot of my friends were going, from high school to college to career to debt to all these different salaries. And as an entrepreneur, I'm like, this is incredible, because learning to maximize the small audience and utilize the opportunities that are afforded. And then sometimes, like, we're willing to maximize our audience, but we just don't know the opportunities. We don't know what that could look like. So in here, I'm sharing with you some ways that you can use your small audience and grow your audience and grow your income to actually have that attention to convert to finances. In fact, so when I was 18 was the first time I realized, wow, people pay you to go travel the world and speak at places. I'm like, that's cool. So I'm going to lean in that. Not only did they pay for me, but they paid for one of my students who was also helping me over there. And then just a couple months ago, just recently, I got back from Texas. There's another speaking engagement there where they wanted me to help their audience at the event to be able to find their skills, find their talents that they could use in the marketplace and be able to share and impact the world. And they, again, paid for my flights, my hotel, and they paid for another member of my team to be able to go out there and help me as well. So it's just, and that's like 10 years later, or 9 years after figuring this out. It's been quite the journey. So here's an example. One way that you can get paid with a small audience is by, first of all, in order to get paid, you have to have a product. You have to productize your service, have some sort of way where your frameworks, your concepts, your principles are packaged. That could be a coaching program. That could be a book. You could take the same principles in your coaching program, you could put it in a book. Something that's really powerful is, if you have a small audience, you've developed it through content. Some of the content that you already have, you could literally take that content and transcribe some videos, send it to an editor, put together a book, and now you've got a book. You've got principles that you have basically systemized. You've simplified for people. And now you've got a book. Like here, I got a best-selling book. I want to mentor. Now what do I do? And it teaches authors, coaches, and mentors and other high-level entrepreneurs how to meet master mentors, how to maximize their mentorships, like seminars or masterminds or coaching programs, and how to master any skill in half the time. So with these principles, really, I took some principles that are in different videos that I've done in years past and just kind of put them together, and then now I have principles in a book. Then you could take these principles in the book and turn it into a course, and you could share people in a more detailed way with some worksheets and some implementation guides. And you could also turn this into an event that is teaching people, which I have an implementation workshop that's showing people how they can find those mentors, how they can maximize their mentorships, get the most out of their investments so that they can apply them quickly, and how they can learn these skills in record times. And then they can turn into a coaching program. So my point of saying that is, you have to have some sort of product that you're able to sell, some packaged value that you can deliver. And you want to disconnect your income from your time. Disconnect your income generation from your time. Because products, and you do that by creating products never sleep. Products don't ask for raises. Products are continually able to add value and serve people even while you're sleeping. As Warren Buffett said, if you don't figure out how you can make money in your sleep, you're going to have to be actively working until the day you die. And I figured, I was learning this in my early 20s. I'm like, this makes sense. And so understanding this helps to realize, like, you don't have to have such a large audience. And what's really fascinating is when you have an audience, people will actually send you their products. Now, this is another way that it's a currency. there's so many people, like you see Casey Neistat, he has like these unboxing videos, and people send him their gadgets, their skateboards, because he likes skateboards, and their t-shirts, and they're sending him all of these products that they would otherwise sell to people, but because they have an audience and he just open it up, share some thoughts, or they're even like, thank you, they're looking for an opportunity to be seen on that show. You have Unbox, I believe it's Unbox Theory or Unbox Therapy, that's on YouTube, and they've got millions of views. But they didn't start that way. But when you have an audience, people will send you their products for free. They're exchanging their paid valuable products for your audience, and you could do reviews. There's 7-year-olds who are making millions of dollars on YouTube just by reviewing toys. And so whether that's a travel vlogger, or that's someone who's reviewing products, or someone who's speaking, there are people who want to send you these things, and it's amazing how simple that it can be. So when you have these products, what I did is I created a course, and in this course it was a $200 course, and it was teaching people how to study the Bible. And as they're learning how to study the Bible, I created an automated webinar, and in that webinar they are able to learn some life-changing tips and principles, and at the end they have an opportunity to purchase the course. So I have that automated, it's running in the background. I'm going to sleep and sometimes waking up and like, wow, that's so cool, we get some sales. And that's running. So when you have a product, then you want to have an automated system to be able to sell that. And then I was invited to, even with a small audience, there was another channel in my niche that saw what I was doing, liked what I was doing. They're like, hey, I want you to come speak to my audience. And in that opportunity, we did an interview on their platform, that on their YouTube channel. They have maybe 250,000 subscribers, somewhere around there. And we spoke for like 60 minutes. And in this talk, I wasn't selling anything, and it wasn't to sell to their audience. Sometimes you can speak to sell. Sometimes you can speak and they'll pay you for that. But here, he was like, bigger influencers will be happy to let you speak on their platform if they like what you're doing. And as I was speaking to them, I didn't sell anything per se, but I just shared with them, and I spoke in a way that helped them to see the value that I'm able to share, and the ways I can help them, and that inspired a segment of his audience to go off and go look for my stuff online. And as they were looking for my stuff, they found my webinars, they found my sales pages, and we made about $2,000 worth of sales within the next 7 days that were direct as a result of the people who viewed that 60 minutes interview. So if you think about that, it's like a 60-minute conversation with a small audience making $2,000. That's like, it doesn't get better than that. And that was one of the first times that I realized, I'm like, wow, there's something to this. We can just really, by learning how to speak on other people's platforms, is so much better, because some of you, with your small audience, you're publishing and you're sharing to them. I think that's good to speak to your audience, but a major breakthrough that I received that helped is realizing, when you're creating your audience, it's slow going and it's slow growing when you are creating content for that. But you start getting faster growth when you speak on other people's platforms, because there are people who already have the ears and the eyes of your dream customer. And when you can speak to them, and then you can speak on their platform, then you have access to hundreds of thousands of people that you're able to now speak to and share your value, share your story. They get to know, like, and trust you, and then they want to follow you up, and then it starts growing your audience. And that attention can convert to sales when you learn to speak and share, speak in a way that makes people want to buy. And like, there was a time when I've been creating content since 2012. So it's about 10 years now. And when I was first getting started, there was a few channels. I realized that there was much more growth on YouTube. There's a few channels that would watch my video, have a small audience, but even with a small audience, some of those people can be very influential people with larger audiences. And that's the case. By speaking to them, one guy commented on my channel and he's like, "Brilliant, I love the teachings of this young lad." And I saw him like, "Hey, well, if you love the teachings, then would you consider featuring me on your channel?" And he's like, "Even more than that, I'd like to interview you. Are you okay? I mean, are you down for an interview?" I said, "Yeah, that sounds great." I didn't know what to expect. I got on there and he did this rapid fire questions and and he's just like doing this quiz and I was just like answering left and right and he was like, "Wow, this 17, or I might have been 18, is like this 18-year-old really understands this topic," and it showed that I was capable of being able to help people. And at the end, he's like, "I'm so excited. I love this." And he told all of his subscribers, which was probably another 200 and something thousand subscribers. He's like, "Go check this young man out. I've been watching his videos and they are so good." And literally that day or around that next day, I got about 1,000 subscribers. I was like, "What?" And then the next day I got about 800 subscribers. And then the next day it was like 500 subscribers. And it starts to dwindle, then 90 and then 30 and then it just kind of trickled. But from there, like even with a small audience, the secret is speaking on other people's platform. But it helps if you have an audience, even if it's small, for you to speak to their platform. It still gives you more leverage than someone who doesn't have an audience. That was one of the first major breakthroughs that I had. And I could see that almost every major growth and spike of growth has been in connection with some form of strategic partnerships. And this is powerful. And so that's one of the things that you're able to do in when you're speaking with a small audience. There's another time where I was speaking. Someone was watching my videos from Norway, and they really liked what I was sharing, and they had an audience that they wanted me to speak at, and they're like, "Hey, would you be willing to speak?" I said, "Sure," and it was virtually. So from speaking to their group, their event virtually, then they were like, "This is so good. We want you to come back." They gave me $4,000 for the speaking engagement, and that was in my early 20s, and sharing there. And they liked it so much, they invited me back and got another $4,000. And this is over in Norway. And you got to get this. Like, this is a virtual. These are virtual speaking engagements. I don't even have to leave my family, mess up my sleeping schedule, travel halfway across the world, and stay in this foreign country. Like, I don't have to go through all the hassle. I could literally show up and speak for about an hour, and then come back, and they're ready to support. And that's with a small audience. And there's another student that I had from my videos on YouTube as I'm publishing. There's someone from Iceland who really enjoyed what I was doing and is learning a lot, and he ends up sending me about $800 a month. As he's sending $800 a month, that's helping to pay for the rental of the property that I'm renting, and where I could set up my dream studio finally in my early 20s and be able to pay for the equipment and to make better quality content. And it's just one of those things where it's just like, in the beginning it's hard because the easy hard principle, everything is hard until it becomes easy. But if you start, this is something I really want you to see, really start thinking, look for the ways that were the ways of what's working. Instead of looking for all the reasons why it won't work and why it can't and all this time and energy and effort, and start looking for how are things already working. Because you don't build success on the foundation of failure. Success can only be built on the foundation of success. So you want to stack success upon success. And what that looks like is look for the opportunities that are afforded to you now. Who is someone who watches your content? On YouTube, they show you who are the people with large audiences that are subscribed to you. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And who are the people who are in your system, your ecosystem, who are in your sphere of influence that have larger audiences. Maybe you can collaborate with them. Maybe you could form a strategic partnership. Who are people that know, like, and trust you, and maybe you haven't made an offer to yet, or you haven't packaged your value in a product and presented that for them. And just see what are ways that you are able to share with them. And you'd be amazed at how many people are ready right now to pay you. You just haven't given them an opportunity to pay you yet. And there's you're going to see some big breakthroughs there. And another like really cool thing about having an audience is it allows you, basically, in my book, I have a chapter here that's talking about how to get virtually unlimited access to master mentors, millionaire mentors. And one of the ways that you can do that is through having an audience. When you have a platform, then you can do, there's another chapter in my book where I talk about a reporter's platform, where there's two types of experts. And there's one where you have the results expert, that is amazing, and that's you have a result and you're helping others to get that result. And people like that. But that's not the only type of expert. There's also what's called the reporters. You could take the reporter approach, the reporter expert, and that's the one who has who chooses to interview people who have that result, and they either document that interview, or they curate, they collect all of these frameworks and patterns, and they recognize patterns from all these people, and then they go report on their lessons, and they share, and they create their own master framework, and they're able to share with others in that capacity. So what that looks like, for instance, if you are getting into real estate and you wanted to learn how you can, and you wanted to learn how that you could sell real estate, would you want to learn from the guy who made 0 sales, or who made $5 million in sales? You'd rather learn from the guy who makes $5 million in sales, right? Mm-hmm. That would be the results expert. But what if I told you the guy who made $0 in sales dedicated the last 10 years of his life interviewing all of the top real estate agents in your market who are making over $100 million, and he's asking them, what are the biggest strategies, what are the biggest mistakes that startup real estates make when they're looking to get into this market, and what are the greatest strategies that you found? And just by asking them these questions as a reporter, he's documented it. You see he's got the podcast, he's got a platform, that these conversations with multi-billionaires, multi-millionaires, and he's identified all these different patterns. He's recognized that after interviewing 100 of the top most influential real estate agents, he has found that all of them have these same 7 character traits, or these same 7 steps. They do the same basic system, and they're able to and he's able to share with you and report on what those 7 things he's found. Now, who would you rather listen to? You would want to listen to the guy who has 0 sales, but who is reporting on some of the most influential, most successful people in the subject. And that is what I call the reporter's platform. When you take the approach, which I believe you don't have to do either or, you can do and also. But there's a lot of credibility that comes when you're able to interview others who are in your niche and are able to share with you these discoveries and these insights and secrets, and you're there for your audience as being one who's able to extract some of the best nuggets from these influential leaders, and you record it, you document, and you publish that, and it grows an audience and it turns into sales. Like I bought this course. It was on systems. It was systemology. It was a really cool course, and it was like it was for business owners to be able to remove themselves from the day-to-day operations, so there could be more automation and in their business, so things can work without you, and you're able to pursue other things that you're really passionate about. And in there, this guy's teaching business owners about systems. So what does he do? He starts a reporters platform, and in this platform, he interviews as many of the most successful entrepreneurs that he can find. And it's so fascinating because this guy, I believe his name is David, and let's say his name is David. David had a company, it was a marketing agency, and it went really well. And he built himself systems, he worked himself out of a job. So it's able to run, generate income, and he only has like an hour a week that he needs to continue to work in that business. But what he does is he uses the report approach that I talk about in my book, and he starts a second company, a coaching company, that he's going to help people to learn how to create the systems to do what he just did. And in the effort to do that, he starts a podcast, and it's about systems. And he starts interviewing as many of the most successful people that he can find, and he's doing it strategically on what are the friends or the people I have in my network, or who are the people I know of that are experts in creating this result, and I'm going to interview them, find what is their step-by-step process for getting that result, and then turn that interview into the system that he's then able to utilize in his business. It's like this is like so like next level stuff, and it makes a lot of sense. But he's not the only person who's done that. There's so many people who have applied the reporter's approach principles that I'm talking about in my book, and they've been able to build businesses and attract their audience. And you know what that does is when you are seen in your industry with many of the industry leaders and influencers, the key people of influence, and you're getting them on your podcast, then you are perceived as being in the inner circle. You're perceived as being you are now positioned to your audience as being equal to or on par with or a part of a lot of the types of people that you're being interviewed with. So there is a credibility creating factor in reporting from successful people and leaders. And when you have those again, remember, it's like when you have level 3 leaders who are on your platform, then you have level 3 opportunities. But sometimes when you're faithful with the opportunities you have, then you can start to land level 5 leaders, level 6 leaders. And when you have a level 7 leader, then you're able to appeal to other level 7 leaders, or level 8, 9 leaders who are like, well, I want to get on that show because this is a place to be. And when you're associated with those people, then people are automatically think, all right, this person, no, there's something in the human psyche, human nature that believes that if they are connected with so many of successful people, then they've got to have the solution I'm looking for. I remember the first time that I saw this page. There's a guy who had a podcast. His name is Simon Chan, and it was really cool. On that page, he had a list of all these people that he interviewed, and a list of all these people that he met or he spoke to and he interviewed, and he called himself like the Oprah Winfrey of network marketing, and that's basically what Oprah Winfrey did. She built her audience simply by interviewing other experts who had audiences, and by interviewing them, she's able to build a platform which is $1 billion brand. So he applied this Oprah Winfrey way, and he put it into his business, but he did it in the niche of network marketing. And I remember the people that he had on his show. He had this page of all the different people he've interviewed, and I was like, I recognize that person, I recognize that person, that person, that person, that person, and I was like, wow, this guy's really connected. He is speaking to all these people that I enjoy learning from. Therefore, instantly, I didn't know anything about him, but instantly from that page alone, I started thinking, I like this dude, I want to listen to him. And I started listening to lots of hours of his content. But within seconds of stumbling upon his page or finding him, I was really fascinated by just how quick that association happens. So in like manner, I'm like, all right, when I'm going to build EnochLeffingwell.com, and I'm building this page and helping to show people what I do and who I do it with, that I have a section on there. It's like, who are my mentors? Because there's a principle I teach in my book that's called the Take Me to Your Mentor method. And it's going to your mentors and asking who mentored you. And when you can see who mentored you, then you start to, who mentored your mentors, you start recognizing patterns. And so on that page of who are the people that have mentored me, or that I work with in inner circles or masterminds or coaching programs, then that page of just kind of shows like where like who I speak to, or how I learned, or the types of marketing knowledge or business that I'm learning. And so it can help other people to build a bond. If they have a bond with them, then it starts to transfer somewhat of a bond with me. And I've found that page alone has allowed me to get more speaking engagements and be able to share on more podcasts and interviews and platforms where people are like, wow, he's been mentored by some of the greatest marketing minds in the world, and they're excited to be able to share that to other people. So what I say is, by you interviewing others, you have positioned yourself with others of influence in your niche and in your industry. That is something that helps to position you as someone who can help, someone who is credible, that can share with others. And I just noticed a lot of times on sales pages, you see there's so many times I'm looking at a product and I'm like, do I want to buy this course? Who is this person? But then when I see their testimonials, I'm like, oh, I know that mentor, I know that coach, I know that speaker, I know that person, and they're all endorsing this individual. I'm like, all right, that makes sense. I'm down to buy this book. I'm down to buy this training, whatever the case is, and it really makes a big difference. So that's one of the benefits of starting to interview people. But how do you interview people? What's really neat is if you want to find these influential people, and you're like, why would someone who's really successful want to speak on my platform? Why would they want to use their time to speak here? And I'll tell you, it's because you have a gift. A lot of times you're thinking that you're asking them for a favor, but in reality, by you reaching out to them to speak on your platform, you're doing them a favor many times. And when you could switch your mind and see it from their perspective and realize that you have something they don't have, and that's an access to an audience they don't have. Even if it's a small audience, that's what they want. If they're a speaker, if they're a coach, if they're an author, and if someone wrote a book, this is one of the best ways. Like, I learned this from Russell Brunson. It's just mind-blowing. You could literally take anyone who has written a book, an author, and take an author that you really like, and most of them, majority of them, if you contact them and say, hey, I loved your book, I've read through all of it, this was so awesome, I would love to have you to speak to my audience about your book. Would you be interested? And most of them will say yes, because if they wrote a book, they're already super passionate about that subject, and they want to get that book out to the mass. They want to get it to as many people as possible, and they are going to be far more likely to discuss the contents of that. And it's easier, and they're just like, many experts are just, they're so geeked out on a subject that they're just waiting for someone to ask them questions about it. and you can actually provide them that opportunity so that they can geek out with you about their area of expertise. And you know what's amazing? You get a mentor. You get this coaching sessions, or you get you can ask them all the questions, just like David did, about the exact systems he needed the most help with in his business. You can start asking them the exact questions that you need the most help with in your business. And as you're documenting that process, you're able to add value to your audience and add value to the expert who you're interviewing. And you've thus created win-win-win scenarios for everybody. Everybody wins. And that's one of the cool things about the reporter approach that I teach in my book. So, I'll give you an example. Myron Golden wrote a book, and he charges $35,000 an hour of coaching for his time. Now, and people pay him $35,000 an hour. He charged less until someone bought a bunch of his time, and he's like, I don't want that to happen again, because he's not trying to sell his time. And where otherwise it would cost $35,000 for an hour, it's because I have an audience, and I saw him speaking at Funnel Hacking Live, and I was like, hey, Myron. And I texted him on Instagram and said, hey, Myron, I've got a podcast, and I have over 300 episodes, and I'd love to speak. I'd love to interview you on my show. Would you be open? He said, yeah, let's do it. And a lot of times you'd be amazed at people who have a lot going on and who value their time or who charge a premium for their time. If you have even a small audience, they are willing to speak on your platform. Even Gary Vee, who has 10 million followers on Instagram, like 5 million or so on YouTube, and he's got a $350 million company a year that runs, he's willing to speak on people's platforms. I've seen it so many times. They're like, hey, Gary, what would it take to get you on my platform? And he's like, have you produced at least your first, I think it's 50 or the first 100 episodes? And if they say yes, he's like, I'll speak there. If they say no, he says, get to 100 episodes and I'll speak on your platform. And it's amazing because they are so willing to speak, even if it's a small audience, and there you have an hour. I had an hour to ask Myron whatever questions I wanted to do, and as I'm asking these questions, I thoroughly enjoy that conversation. We're adding value to my audience, to his audience, and everybody's winning. And so that's a way that they would want to join. And one thing I learned, Gary Vee said that was really eye-opening, is that even people who are almost impossible to get a hold of, they're so close with their time, and they're not going to show up on smaller audiences, and they just have so many opportunities. They're like crippled with opportunities. You could still get them to show up to your audience if you time it right. In Ecclesiastes 3:1, it says, to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under the heavens. So if you're purposing in your heart to get a particular successful speaker to show up on your podcast, the way that you do it is wait until they write a book, wait until they're doing a promotion that they're really excited about, and when they write their book and then they go on marketing mode, they're just like full scene, lean, mean marketing machines, and they're going to like Tony Robbins did, he did like over 160 interviews in 7 days. It was like something ridiculous, a heavy blitz. Now, not everyone's as intense as him, but there's somewhere in between where some of these most popular people, like Tim Ferriss, where he did the 4-hour work week, he was going on like 100 different interviews selling his 4-hour work week, and that's just like lots of time to promote that book. And but the thing is, when they have a book and they're marketing that, when you can align your audience opportunity with their marketing campaign, and you're able to share and just talk about their expertise, many of them they'll willingly, easily give their time to you and share with you, just answer these questions and talk to them and get on their radar, and you're able to build relationships with them. And those relationships can form into other developments. Like I remember hearing from Tom Bilyeu, and he was talking about how when he was just getting started, or when he published his book, he was speaking on anybody's platform, whether they had 50 people or one person or 10 people or like anyone who had a platform. And he's a billionaire, and he's like, I am going on and I'm saying yes to these opportunities. He didn't say no to them because he was like, I know that there's the power of content. I know the power of audience. Wealthy people understand that audience is a currency, and they're willing to exchange their time for your audience. So this is where you're able to have access to virtually unlimited access to highly successful individuals. And it's exactly, King Solomon understood this principle when he spoke in Proverbs 18:16, where he said, a man's gift maketh room for him and bringeth him before great men. So keep in mind that you are actually you're not coming from a place of needership, you're coming from a place of leadership. You are the one with the gift, and you are gifting them the opportunity to get their message to your audience, and successful people value access to audiences that they didn't otherwise have. So keep that in mind when you're reaching out to people, and you'll be able to interview people and ask them questions that otherwise would cost sometimes tens of thousands of dollars an hour. And it's really cool because another thing, a principle that Solomon understood is in Proverbs 18:23. The scripture says, "The poor useth entreaties, but the rich answereth roughly." So when you have an audience, even if it's small, you don't have to beg for people's time or for people's like help or support. When you have an audience, you're like, "Hey, I'd love to have you on a show," and they're like, "I'd love to be on your show." Or when you have an audience, you're like, "Hey, would you like to get together? I have this opportunity," and people say yes to you, and it really starts opening doors that you didn't realize would really be available otherwise. And there's a concept that I learned that was really helpful in starting to make money online. Was someone wrote this article called 1,000 True Fans, and you can look it up. But it's a really short, eye-opening article that was saying that you don't need hundreds of thousands of subscribers, followers, listeners. You don't need millions of followers to make money online. All you really need is about 1,000 true fans. And when you have 1,000 true fans, then the analogy that was given me is that if you think about like, let's say your living expenses are about $5,000 a month. People fluctuate. There's some more, some less. But if you can build an audience of say 1,000, not 1,000 people in your audience, but out of your audience, about 1,000 of them are interested in what you buy. They just want to buy anything you put together. They're going to buy because they're true fans. They're excited. And they want more, and they're willing to pay more. They're paying for access. They're just interested. Like if you sold a $5 monthly subscription, which I would not recommend, then you would have 1,000 people buying $5. That's $5,000 a month passive residual income that is paying you, that would allow you to be able to step away from what you're doing and at least focus more of your time doing what you love. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. But I would say that even more than that, you don't even need 1,000 because you like as a coach, you could easily get to six figures with much less. Whereas like you can get to a six-figure a year business having a micro audience, and people don't realize this. Where let's say as a coach, you have a solution, you're solving someone's valuable problem, and one of the biggest problems that people face with small audiences that's costing them a fortune is that they're not raising their prices. They're not charging enough. And what I mean by that is the thing about a small audience, when you charge like $5, you need more. But when you charge more, you need less. Higher value, less volume. But when you're selling these doodads or these cheap products, you're going to attract cheap-minded people who are some of the worst for customer service, and it have so many complaints. Like the lower the price that you charge people, the more that they expect from your offer. And but the more that you charge people, the less that they expect of you, the more independent and easier they are they just implement, they apply. So really, like your pricing is part of your brand strategy, because if you are the best, nobody expects you to be the cheapest. And if you're the cheapest, nobody expects you to be the best. So your pricing is actually communicating to your small audience how you value yourself and how much you really believe in your ability to help people. And if you believe that you really can help people, then tell that to your prices. And so what this could look like, an example, is let's say that you have, you're a coach and you sell a $3,000 coaching program. And $3,000 as a coach is actually on the low end. That's lower. But let's say you have $3,000 coaching program, you want to get to six figures a year. All you need to do to make $100,000 a year is make like a monthly is to make $8,333.34. If you make that, then that's 6 figures a year. And if you have a $3,000 coaching program, then all you got to do is sell 3 of them. Selling 3 packages a month, that's $9,000 a month. That's over $100,000 a year. And you've got it with just 3. How big of an audience do you think that you need to sell 3 products? Not that big. You can have a small audience and still have 6-figure a year income. And when you could wrap your mind around this, when you could see the possibilities of a small audience, then there's endless possibilities. So the sad thing is, people look at these individuals with millions of followers or hundreds of thousands of followers, and they think they must be rich. They got so much attention, all these people. But I've met quite a handful of influencers with lots of followers, and a lot of them are broke. They have no idea how to monetize the attention. They have no idea how to maximize their audience or how to turn that reputation into revenue. And that's what I teach my students in my book, I Want to Mentor, Now What Do I Do? And when I coach entrepreneurs, that's what I'm helping people to understand. Like, I'm in a mastermind, and there's a particular, I won't say his name, but there's a particular influencer who's been on a lot of very popular stages. He's a great speaker. He's fantastic in his message, as a story that will make you cry and just like, wow. But when it comes to marketing and productizing his value and communicating that value to others in a way that they want to buy, he's almost clueless. Like, it's amazing to see like how large of an audience, but how uncertain he is. But it's great that he's getting marketing advice and he's understanding that. So with the audience, you're able to have access, and that opens up opportunities for you to learn, to get in the room where you have the right mentors. You're learning quick. So he's well on his way. But my point is, there's a lot of influencers that, like, the likes and the views and the subscribers, a lot of this stuff is vanity metrics. There's many influencers. You could do brand deals where you're going to speak to them, but they have no idea how to. They have influence, but not buying influence. They don't have income generating influence. And what I mean by that is, they have people's attention. They may be entertaining, but they're not persuading. And there's a big difference for the type of influence that you have. Just because you have a large audience doesn't mean that audience is willing to pull out their credit card and give you money. That is in exchange for the value that you're providing. So what I would suggest everyone who's here is, stop focusing solely on the audience, thinking your audience is going to be the big breakthrough. And I do agree, like, build the audience and go for it. That's a great goal. But don't think that having a bigger audience will solve your financial problems. Instead, look at what are the financial opportunities that you are drowning in right now with your small audience, but you just haven't yet discovered, or you haven't been made aware of how you could maximize and tap into those income generating opportunities. That's the power of having a mentor, because a good mentor is going to give you counterintuitive advice, because if it already made sense, you would already be doing it. So like 90% of what a good mentor is going to say is going to be counterintuitive. You're going to think like, that can't be true, or that can't work for me, or like that's not right. But the same thinking that got you here is not going to be the same thing that's going to get you there where you want to go. So the reason why you are in the result that the place that you are, and if you're not happy, is because of your thinking. But a good mentor is going to give you counterintuitive advice. It's going to sound like that can't be. But when you learn to do what your mentor says, and you start changing some of these tweaks, then it starts opening up for greater financial opportunities, or to reach your goals faster. And I'm telling you, you don't have to have a large audience to do this. That's what's one of the most exciting things. And there was a lady I met at an event, and she was telling me this podcast plan, and she's publishing, and she's so excited. She's like, so my podcast, I'm going to be interviewing successful Christian business owners. I'm like, okay, cool, that sounds great. They're all going to be 7-figure entrepreneurs or 8-figure entrepreneurs or beyond. I'm like, that sounds like a cool podcast. And followed up with her a few months later. I said, hey, how's the podcast going? She's like, well, I'm having a hard time finding the millionaires and the 8-figure entrepreneurs and that I can interview. I'm like, oh, really? And so I was like, well, I was just looking for ways I could help. I said, here are some suggestions. And I sent her some of the people that are in my network, some friends, peers, mentors of mine, and I was like, hey, just tell them that Enoch sent you, or Enoch suggested that you have an audience that they may be interested in speaking to, and I just loaded it up with maybe like 10, 15 or so people, and she's like, wow, this is amazing. She's like, how do you know so many millionaires? And I'm like, well, that's exactly what I wrote the book about, how to meet master mentors. And it's the principles that I explain here. This is literally teaching you. It is your step-by-step action plan for being able to find those mentors, how to interview, how to create a reporter's platform, how to monetize the information that you're receiving as you're mastering these skills in half the time, a fraction of the time that you would otherwise be doing. She's like, okay, I'm going to go through. She was taking the principles. I shared with her some of the resources. I gave her the principles that she can learn. And then pretty soon, within the next month or so, she starts interviewing some of the people that I'm on there. And she's had some amazing interviews. They were great. And it's just cool how to be able to help people, because I believe that that whole like cliche that your network is your net worth. It sounds like it's like a nice thing to say, but in reality, I believe that the law of association states that you're on an average of the top 5 voices you hear the most, the top 5 people that you spend the most time with. And what I would encourage you to do is to create a profitable peer group. Pick your peers that will be profitable to them and to you and to the people that you serve together. And when you can surround yourself with people who have the results that you want, surround yourself with people who are going in the direction that you want to go, it is going to be one of the greatest things that you can do. It is so rewarding, it's so fulfilling, and it's exciting. And you can do it with a small audience. Find people who are learning to maximize their audience, maximize their opportunities, and who are speakers, who are coaches, who are authors, who are further along that journey that you're going, and surround yourself with them. Get yourself in the room where big things are happening, and they will reorientate your beliefs of what's possible. That's one of the greatest freedoms that you can have. And I believe as you continue down this path of building your audience, nurturing your audience, using your audience to serve your audience and to open up new doors that you otherwise couldn't, then it's going to lead you to the financial promised land. You will begin to experience financial freedom in ways that like true freedom. Because a lot of people throw around financial freedom, they talk about this, but there's like different definitions. When I say financial freedom, I believe the best definition that I've been able to find for financial freedom is when your passive income meets or exceeds your monthly living expenses. Like the expenses that you need to live the lifestyle that you desire. When your passive income meets or exceeds your monthly living expenses, like that's financial freedom. Where you don't have to work anymore. You can when you love what you do, but you don't really have to. And as you have that financial freedom that I believe you can have with a small audience, then it opens up doors of opportunities. Like I believe it was last year or the year before, I had a friend of mine who was speaking to me, and he was seeing the videos that I was putting out there. And he's like, it's like, I just quit doing that. I tried that route of being a coach, and and creating content, and it was so much work, and it was so hard, and it was just like, oh, I don't like doing that. It's so exhausting. Instead, like, stop doing what you're doing and instead do this Bitcoin with me. And he's like, join my Bitcoin affiliate program, join my Bitcoin bank of sorts. And it's like, I don't have an issue with Bitcoin, but I don't really know much about Bitcoin yet. But I was just like his approach was off, first of all. But I was just like, he doesn't realize. And I shared with him, like, dude, something that you need to understand is, like, I don't create videos and coach entrepreneurs and speak to people because like, I coach people because I enjoy it. I create content because I really enjoy this. God has blessed our family business where for years I've experienced that breakthrough where financial freedom, where our passive income exceeds our monthly expenses, and I've been financially free for years. And it's not that I create content because I have to. I create content because I love to. This is the stuff that I absolutely enjoy. And it's like, this is like, people say, like, what would you do if you didn't have to work? It's like, what would you so much enjoy? I'm like, this is the life. Like, this is the dream life that I have prayed for, that I've designed, I've looked for. And I love creating content. I love the process of creating the outlines and recording and sharing and speaking and seeing the transformations in people's lives. I love seeing people have breakthroughs in their business. I love seeing people have breakthroughs in their family, in their minds, in their growth, in developing as a leader. And it's like, this is the stuff that I enjoy. And he's like, oh, it's like, whoa, whoops. But what I share with you is that you don't have to have a massive audience to live the life of your dreams. You can have a small audience and find mentorship, find an inner circle, find examples of people who are learning how to maximize that small audience and get paid for what you do, and learn what are the mistakes that people are doing that don't have results that you want, and don't do that. And learn what are the tips or the principles that people are doing that have results that you want, and, like, go do more of that. Sometimes you got to pay in time to figure that out. Sometimes you got to pay with money to figure that out, but figure it out. It's worth it. So the purpose of this video is to share with you different examples and ways an example was possible of what you could do to get paid with a small audience. There's a lot of myths out there, which we're hopefully by today you've busted those myths that you don't need large audience, big vanity metrics in order to get paid and to live the life of your dreams. You can do it with the audience that you have, with the small audience, just learning how to maximize that audience. And there's more that I could share, but I don't have time to go into all the details in this short video. But if you do want to get more, you grab a copy of my book, I Want a Mentor, Now What Do I Do? Just go to the website, iwantamentorbook.com, and in there you'll get access to all the principles and strategies that I teach. A lot of what I said today is principles that you could find here, and it's elaborated and expanded with different examples. This is a step-by-step playbook to help you to meet master mentors, millionaire mentors. Surround yourself to have virtually unlimited access to people who have the results that you want. And this will teach you how to maximize your mentorships. Once you have access, how do you maximize these coaching programs, these masterminds, these people, these interviews? How can you get the most out of them so you could apply them quickly and turn that information into application so you could receive transformation the fastest way possible? There's a section on that. And then finally, it's going to teach you how to master any skill in half the time with the right mentor. Because let's be honest, in business, there are different skills that we're going to have to acquire. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is the same gap between what you know now and what you don't know yet. And one of the fastest ways to close that gap is by learning a skill. And if you want to learn that skill quickly so you can get to the destination you desire most, then grabbing a copy of my book is one of the best opportunities for you to gain the skills that once you have, no government can take those skills away from you. No marriage, no divorce can remove your skills. No economic downturn can make you lose these high income skills that you are able to acquire. But to grab a copy of my book, while it's still available, I want a mentorbook.com. and there will be a link down below that you can access. And I look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much for watching, and share this with other people that you think could benefit from this as well. And remember that God doesn't call a qualified, He qualifies a called.